Okay, what's missed out is a whole bunch of prep. I redid this, sanded it all off, buffed it, sanded it with 100 grit, cleaned out the bolt holes. This can only go on one way. Can't get flip-flopped because the way the design of the gasket is, it goes on dry. So you got to be real careful to get that straight down on there. Same thing with the head. I don't see any cracks. I see that these are just sitting in there, so we've got to figure out if one of those is bad. I know one of them is bad because I hammered on it getting it out, but I sure don't see any cracks in the center there or cracks around, so we'll just kind of keep our fingers crossed, hope that's good. Okay, this should be sitting down on there, but for some reason it is not. So maybe that gasket popped up off of there, so I'm really gonna have to lift this up and see. This is almost a two-person gig because it's too heavy for me to lift, but we gotta lift it back up and see what's going on. Okay, I hope this squeezed down in there right. Hope it's flat enough, hope it's not warped. What happens when you have a homemade job, you just kind of gotta wing it. These are the original bolts. These four are also going to be the original bolts. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 got robbed from the head of the other one because they were all, which I'm glad I did because these were getting crusty, rusty, weak, and if those would pop in the middle, it'd be over. You'd be taking that back off, trying to get the stud poking off. Now, the problem is, I haven't cleaned any of this stuff, so we got a dirty rail here to install. Whoa, look out! Got a dirty rail to install here. That looks good to me. I'll just put that sucker right back on there, all gooey and gummy, wipe some of the goo off. But I did not like the way these looked. Pretty crusty, rusty, so let's get the buffing wheel and polish those. We got front and back, and I have no idea which is front and back. I don't think it matters. Alright, that's all prep work I could have done back when I was crying about not being able to work. But anyways, I got 4 of these that I just don't like. So I pulled 4 out of the parts tractor, but the heads are slightly smaller. So I'm going to have to strategically put these around because they're not going to have as much head surface area, maybe. See how big that surface area is compared to that one. So these old ones, they get stretched out, so it might not be wise to mix and match, but on an old tractor, this tractor here not any good. They've been repaired on the block twice, been repaired there. I saw another repair right there with some like JB Weld. So we know that ain't no good, but we can start robbing parts off of it. Like this fan, 4-blade fan. You know, that's gonna cost $20, $30 for that. You know, maybe this belt's brand new, that's another 10 bucks. Well, not brand new, but usable for my tractor. And get all these parts off that we want. If that's better condition, we can use that. The thing, I can even probably use that hose to get by. Anything we need off of here, we're gonna take. Okay, I can see right here, this was definitely a problem. That should not have been like that. This engine would have making all kinds of noise. That is way out of adjustment. I'm not sure what happened, why these didn't get tightened up. That right there is probably about what they should be with some drag. So it looked like somebody put a new cap on there and definitely didn't tighten it down. But I want these push rods because mine are all rusty, and I want to take this whole rail off but this is not adjusted, so I may just use mine. Looks like they did some sort of repair right there, maybe too. Okay, my theory was that if I put this right back in here, these valves would be good, but I'm pretty sure that's got too much play in it. Same with this one. So in order to adjust this, you gotta take the slack out of there. You gotta have to screw that in to get this. But we need to measure each one of those in the piston all the way up position, which I'm not really sure how to, could take these out maybe and stick something down in there, a little marker to have it know when to come up as the highest position. So, but just because that's up doesn't mean these are, see, one up, one down, two up, one going down, one going up. Okay, I skipped from 90 to 110. 100 was just like nothing clicked. You could tell these top ones, when I went from 90 to 110, they all stretched out. So I did the zigzag pattern just like the book, and I went over all of them again. So I've done that several times. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the oil pan in because this is pretty much done. And I think that kind of tightened that up. I'm not sure, but we'll have to you know, check that out, make sure those are tight before we put the valve cover on there. Alright, I got my other $300 tractor for parts. Looks like I got some fenders. I got this better bonnet that's not all rusted, and I have a real fuel tank that's not rusted out. It's actually got diesel still in it, which that tank was rotten. I took it out. I got the head on there. So basically, that's what I need to go on there next, is the fuel tank and all of that. I see this stuff is a little different. I don't know what the difference is. I don't even know what year model this is. Real similar. It's got the belt and the generator. This generator looks like it's probably still good, so hopefully we can just put that generator on there to test it, get it going. Has a dual fuel filter, which I'm probably not going to use. It maybe has some better fuel lines, some pieces, cable there, so we're going to use what we can. But the steering wheel had been welded to the top of that, so I actually had to cut the steering, and it's jacked up. These can't steer it. This gearbox failed, and so I don't need the gearbox, but we're gonna gotta get this bonnet. I had to take the steering wheel to get the bonnet off, so that's what we got over on that one. And this thing just gonna be a junker going to the scrap metal when I get done with it, or if somebody wants some parts, so sell them some parts. So I cut the steering wheel off, moved all this stuff, moved that engine over out of the way, moved the rear axle out of the way, pushed this car up. I've been out here about 2 hours. I'm already sick of kind of working on it here. I did notice this thing broke, but I don't know if we're going to use that whole axle, but at least it looks like that stuff is working. Brakes work. So I know I can probably use this rear axle. I don't know if I can split it here and keep the transmissions. So not quite sure. But anywho, I've already robbed the head bolts. I had a couple head bolts on that one that I was not real comfortable with. They were pretty rotten out. So I pulled them out of there and used those. So looks like I got some hoses and parts and pieces. This electrical looks like it's in better condition than the one on that tractor, so I may be able to splice them together. Ooh, so there you go. That's your melted dangerous problems, and that's how you catch a tractor on fire. So we may have to buy a new harness. They're about $100, but I just want to get it started, see it, make sure it runs. So the only thing I'm going to take off right now is this battery tray. I'm going to pull the pins off of there and may unscrew a couple bolts. Alright, definitely a struggle. This was hidden up in there. I was able to get those 2 bolts off, which sit right there. These go up in there. Had a bolt there, bolt in the center, bolt on this side, 2 on this side. I could not get this out of there, so I was able to loosen this end and take that out. So now we have everything loose and it's finally come up off of there. What a pain. What a struggle. Yeah, I don't know what goes there. Maybe a ground, maybe something's broken. So I'm thinking I'd like to take that out, put a new sending unit in, but I'm gonna have to water blast it first. The outside. Looks like that hose is all rotten. That's the return hose. I'm not sure what all this filter and check valve is on a return hose. Kind of weird, but I'm probably going to use that because mine's missing all that stuff. I'm going to take these bolts out. The bolt off the tank. I think there's 6 bolts somewhere. I see another ground bolt broke off. So I'm going to try to get these off so I can take this tank with me and water blast it. And maybe figure out what I'm going to do. Alright, so I got the fuel tank off to go get it water blasted and painted. The bonnet off to go get it water blasted and painted. Most of this stuff came off, but this is some sort of weird thing where you can't get this battery tray off without cutting it all off. So I'm going to go ahead and just take off these 4 bolts and get it off of here just so when I want to work on this later. And that's all I'm doing for today. I'm trying to leave some of the bolts where they need to stay. I'll put those bolts back in there. So we'll just keep working on it. Next thing is just get a few things painted, and then start putting stuff back together. Weird things that I would rather change out is stuff like this, but man, this just seems like the filter housing that's on there is like this newer tractor. I'm not sure if this is a better unit. It's got all solid piping. I kind of like that, but Alright, this is the Rat's Nest Challenge. Challenge is going to be hooking this back up, and you might say, well, why are you going to even take this apart? And you know, I tried not to, but the problem was we're going to be putting a new key switch in it, and we're going to be putting the new kill switch for the diesel shutoff. So that didn't leave much left. I can't figure out how. This is the light switch. I don't see anything in that hole. Maybe that whole thing is an Allen. I'm trying to discover how to get that off. I haven't figured that out yet. This one came off through the front with that nut. This one came off through the back with that nut. This one came off through the back. And then don't lose any of this stuff because you need all this stuff to go back on the injector pump. And I pushed that through. This is some sort of turn signal switch, I think. I think some sort of highway model for mowing grass. Probably was so beat up and worn out. But, you know, I'm not going to put these turn signals and stuff back on it. So I'm trying to figure out what I can just eliminate. So I'm not really ready to do that yet. That looks like some sort of power bulkhead, which doesn't make any sense because if they were glass fuses, they've all gotten broken off and they went in between here, but I don't know that. But these wires don't connect across, so I'm not sure how they would get power. Anywho, I got to study that a little better before I start chopping wires, so I'm going to try to just disconnect the switch, pull it through the hole, disconnect that ground, undo that, get that out of there. So the only thing will be left, I can just tape around this to paint it, and I'm pretty sure that's the light switch, which I'm not sure why it would have a 4 off. 1, 2, 3. Don't understand that. The other thing, this is, I'm pretty sure, broken off because the wires that come over to this, there are 4. So that would probably not work anyways, but I think it goes there. But I'm not sure that it could go over there. But anyhow, let me get the tool set, try to get that off, and we'll just try to get it so we can get it painted. Alright, moving on with the rat's nest. I'm pretty sure this is the turn signal that's broke off, and those are your little indicator lights. All this went to the back of the tractor, and it looks like it's got 2 wires going right there to this little control box, which I don't think is working. I think it's broke, missing some fuses. All these other lights, wires come over here to what I believe is like a flasher fuse. So we have, if we just disconnect all of those out of this little selector box, I think that frees up everything but these 2. So I wrap this back out around. We got 1 wire, so I'm going to disconnect the green and then plug that green back in, and then that frees up this whole assembly because those aren't attached to anything. So that will free up everything but these 2 red wires, and I can pull that out. So let's confirm that's true. Alright, I got almost an empty shell. That's the electrical with the key, horn, control electronics. That is your turn signal switch and all that disconnected. I got some sort of red light, and again, but my other concern is when I'm finished, I don't want to have a bunch of open holes. My other tractor doesn't have that spot, so I'm either gonna have to put like a little decorative cover plate over it or put that control box back. And I would think I would just make a little aluminum cover plate with some bolts, put them in there, make it look a little flat, look nicer. I could probably take that light out just for the fun of, I don't really see how to get it out of there. I see maybe a nut or something. And you know, even though I wouldn't replace this light switch, not me likely, it'd be nice to have that out of there and be able to take it on and off. But I just don't see how it comes off. It's gotta come off with that nut for sure, but if I remove the nut, it's not gonna come loose because it's gotta come over the switch handle, and I mean, I could break it, but why do that? Since I'm not gonna mess with the lights, I just hate it because once I paint it, I'm gonna be scratching on that to get that off to do a light switch later, but I don't think I'll put lights on it. But if I did, I don't know. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and break it off, and then it'll just be a hole there that I won't be using, just like these other holes that won't be getting used. Okay, I think I figured it out. Just like the light switch in the old cars, when I'm spinning this, I see a keeper pin on there. So I think if I take that keeper pin off, this whole thing is going to slide out of here. So let me get a screwdriver and pop that little keeper off of there, and we'll see if that comes out. Definitely came out in pieces, just like I said. I had to break that off, unscrew this off of there, and then I had to hammer that out, and that's exactly what. That would not have come out through that. So I don't know how to remove this without breaking it. I took out that little pin and that pin didn't drive it through. So I don't know. I'm sure there's a secret to it, but secret, I got a secret. Okay, I actually did the wrong thing, or I didn't want to remove this little light, so I just clipped them lights off. I don't know what that's for, but not sure what that's for, but I'm afraid if I mess with it too much, it's gonna be broke. So I don't know. I already see that it's cracked. Maybe I should just bust it off too, like everything else, get it out of there, and we'll sand that up, get this sucker painted. We can start putting this stuff back on at our own leisure. Well, broke that cover off for this. It looks like there's a metal heat shield. The light cover disintegrated when I tried to get it off. And all of these nuts seem to be some weird 15, 16. So I wanted it off. Darn it. I'm gonna get it off. And you know, got some sort of washer or something on there. That's some sort of plastic screw. I'm surprised I didn't bust. You know, actually I kind of enjoyed taking this apart, which sounds kind of silly, but if I haven't been in such a rush to try to get these parts painted so I could work on it tomorrow, and the water pump, and I got other parts that I like to paint. Hopefully I got enough stinking paint. But you know, you enjoy taking something like this apart, learning it, studying it, but you know, when you get in a hurry, it kind of takes the fun out of it. Okay, quick rundown on painting this stuff. I got my paint, got my hardener, got my thinner, need a stir stick, and you gotta have a strainer, because if you don't strain this paint going into the gun, you're gonna get plugged up real fast. So I got a mixing cup. This is like 4 to 1 according to this directions for the regular paint. So whatever it is for the regular paint, I use the same thing for this. It's an oil-based enamel. I use this urethane hardener, which is also good for enamel according to the instructions for that. So it's all good. It gets hard, and just regular acetone to thin it, because the acetone evaporates real good. So